guys, you're welcome again to Flookiesden. On today's vlog, I have new immigrants in the house that will be sharing experiences about how they settle in Canada. By the way, if you're new to this channel, I'm filming from Saskatoon in Saskatchewan, and on this channel we just share information and tips and tricks that helps new immigrants find their footing in a new land. So if you're looking at immigrating to Canada or Saskatoon, Flookiesden is your plug. Just continue to watch. So on this channel I have two gentlemen and a lady joining me, and we're going to be talking about their experience. These are couples actually, Samuel and Bola. They are a couple and they've been here for over a year. And I have another Bola in the house, so I'm going to be introducing them by Bola female, Bola F, and Bola B.
Bola guy.
Bola girl, Bola guy. No, they are not girls and guys. Come on.
Bola B and Bola F.
Bola B and Bola F. So that they'll be able to share their experience over the time. He's been here for a couple of months actually. Without much ado, let's introduce yourself. So you're welcome, Bola, Samuel, Bola, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm going to give the floor to them, and I'm going to, just let them introduce themselves, talk about where they are from. I know it's obvious, but let them tell you by themselves. And then talk about their experience, talk about why they decide to move, and a bit about their background or educational background. So I will start from ladies first.
Okay. All right. So as you know, my name is Bolanle, but I'm Omo Bolanle Adiogun, and I'm a Nigerian. I'm from Nigeria, and well, I came to Canada for greener pastures like everybody will do. But beyond that, before coming to Canada, I had to look at, okay, what next? In my career, what next? What am I going to do next? And when the thoughts came, I was like, wow. I shared with my dear husband, but generally men like, wow, this is gonna be tough. But well, as usual, we are Christians, and we have to put everything onto the Lord's hands. So I had to tell him, okay, this is how I'm feeling, so let's pray about it. And we did, and here we are here live in Canada. We thank God for His mercies and the journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Bola F. So I'm going to switch it over to Bola B, right, and just give us a bit about your experience, background, where you're from, and why did you even think of coming to Canada or even Saskatoon?
All right, thank you very much again for having me. Yes, my name is Bola Odeshilo, and a bit about my background. I am a project manager in technology space. I've been for a couple of years, but even from my educational background, I didn't start off that way. I started off reading political science and international relations, but of course I didn't have to sort of train myself with work experience and all of that. I found myself in engineering and IT, and I've loved it ever since. I've been doing that, all this time. So the decision to come to Canada has been, I think, 5 years long, right, prior to now. It was a decision that I and my wife had, discussed in the past, and we just said, okay, let's just see how it goes, basically, right? We're doing all right in Nigeria. Of course, it may not be totally great. We all know how Nigeria is, but we're always excited about Nigeria nonetheless. And we decided to plan and just see where it goes. There were a few disappointments here and there, with immigration and all of that. But at the end of the day, what I would just say is that we prepared for the journey, we prayed as well, and God just made it happen. And this year we landed in Saskatoon, Canada. Yeah.
So follow-up question: how long have you been here?
So I've been here for 3 months. 3 months.
Newbie.
Nice.
So he's still, it's an opportunity for you to still learn a bit or two from him. He's new to Canada, so he'll be sharing a bit of what he's experienced so far in the last 3 months. So I'm going to pass on to Samuel right now. What was your experience like, or what motivated you personally as well to move to Canada? I know Bola has said some things, but I just want, from your own experience, from your job, what happened, or what did you see not working, or why did you decide to move?
Hi everyone, good to be here. Well, there is a long story and a short story. Well, for those that don't really know, there's always a long and short. But the short story is that I'd not really been the type that ever thought of emigrating. Some weeks back, I remembered a conversation in my secondary school. I think I was in SS3 or SS2 then, and my colleagues were like, as soon as I finish secondary school like this, what was university? I'm out. And I'm like, if we will come and stay and build Nigeria now. So I might look hypocritical to most of them if they are watching this.
Times have changed.
Yeah, but then, like my wife said, the thought was an initial turn off for me because, well, like my initial mindset. But then we had learned over time, from the time we met each other till now, that God had peculiar plans for us, and so we put it to God in prayer, and what you might call divine coincidences began to happen, from the suggestions to the considerations of Canada, and to then one of the major ones that happened where we were considering the express entry route, and then a friend out of the blues was like, there's also provincial nomination, or maybe you guys can look at it. And of all the provinces at that time, only Saskatoon, Manitoba, and I think Nova Scotia were doing provincial nomination.
Even
and
Prince
Albert Island.
Yeah.
Interestingly, of all four, my cousin had to be in Saskatchewan. So we just saw that as God's divine provision, and then we looked at that and we began the journey. I used to be I practiced construction architecture in Nigeria, and so I know I was coming into unique grounds here. I would definitely have to do some back to basic to climb back up. So we did some prepping, and God has been faithful.
Great.
Awesome.
I like that. And he actually took one of my questions that I was going to ask them, what provincial nomination program did they use? Because so many people have been asking, how can I immigrate to Canada? Which one is the fastest route? So maybe in 1 minute, you just want to answer the question, what immigration plan did you use? How long did it take you for that process? Okay, we'll let Bola
she's my resident.
All right, okay, thank you so much. What happened is I was one, women now. I was one that had the,
No, me, I was hustling.
So you
have to hustle and plan the immigration together at some point.
It was like hot on me, and I had to just move forward and try to, research and try as much as possible to ask friends and all that. So for the provincial nomination, it takes like 3 months for you to be nominated, but depending on your paperwork. For example, one thing I know definitely in Saskatchewan is that when you are trying to get into applying, your documents have to be complete. Any mistake, you are off. But if you get everything right and you apply rightly, within 3 months, maximum of 3 months, you'll be nominated. So some people say that, that they have delays and all that. And I believe the delays is actually because their documentation was not right. And anybody that is lucky can be sent an additional, documentation here, but it doesn't come that way, depending on the officer that is handling your case file. Exactly. Right. Yes. So that's it. So
that means you came in through the
federal skill.
Yes, federal skill. Yes, exactly.
Okay, and the whole process took you how long?
Well, the whole process took us
from applying to getting your PPR.
About 3 years, because of COVID came.
Okay.
Especially COVID. COVID took off like 1.5 years.
Right.
Yes. So let's say.
Wait, before COVID, Unilag.
Alright, so we have for West. Exactly. West for my husband.
Their records
exactly. So our almighty Unilag in Nigeria I felt that, well, I went to University of Lagos, Lagos State University, sorry, so LASU,
right.
and I felt, okay, it was LASU that would keep us, but fast, within like just weeks, you know, I got my West, and we were waiting for, and wow.
But now I heard they are better now.
They are better.
1 year, yes, but we heard that things have improved, which is very good.
And
So-
this is, sorry to cut in, this is a note of, well, just to encourage as many people that are trying to apply, you need to get your documentation right. And depend on the school or the university that you are actually gone to. You need to know how the process works, because they can actually be a thorn in the flesh. That happened to me as well.
Yeah.
There was just nobody responding. Nobody responded, and that took months. In fact, the process, when we started this process, it was halted because of my own credential assessment. I didn't get any response from school. Wes was asking, nothing was going on, and I couldn't travel to say I'm going there to school. So I had to find somebody. Well, thank God, I'm in Canada. That eventually,
So
is
for
the
3
story.
years,
Yeah,
there was the Unilag almost 1 year wait.
Right.
Then there was COVID.
COVID.
Then after COVID, there was the sudden withdrawal of America from
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. Then there was Ukraine
That's
also.
war.
Yeah.
So each of these places, because
Right.
Canada opens their doors, it usually clogs systems. So they'll prioritize those crises. And
Over the usual program.
So for
Yeah.
us, 3 years
And
is not the typical.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but for the Ukraine, I felt it will still take longer, and January, boom, it was
Yeah. I knew people were actually sending mails. People were really
Yes, yes.
frustrated, waiting.
Yeah.
So I guess it was the feedback that they were receiving from people that have applied that made them speed up. So let me flip to Bola in just 1 minute. Just tell us, what program did you use to get into Canada, and how long did it take you?
All right, so for me, I came in through the provincial nomination pathway, the skilled worker program, but provincial pathway, SIMP, that is the Saskatoon Immigration Nominee Program. It took me about, I'll say 2.5 years, right? So, of course, all the documentation, submitting it, and being called to apply. The initial expression
Invitation.
of interest, invitation
Yeah.
to apply, yes. So from then and then, it took me about a month or so to submit my documentation, but of course, the usual delays, it took about 10-11 months to get the hear back from
For
SIMP.
the SIMP.
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
it's now taking longer than before.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I think it was just that particular period. There was that delay, right? So it took me about 10-11 months before I could hear back from SIMP, and then but as soon as they got back, everything just went boom, 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 right? And yeah, we finished up every other thing that needed to be done, medicals, submitted passport, and it was all settled. Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, that's pre-landing. So now let's talk about landing.
Oh,
Let's talk
great.
about coming to Canada, coming to Saskatoon. Tell us a bit about your experience. What did your reality meet your expectation? I know people abroad, when you're in your home country, you're looking at coming to Canada, you feel there's money on the road, everybody's enjoying life.
That's a myth.
And there's just so many things that people assume about Canada before they land. And then when they actually get here, there's just a wide difference. Even with jobs, there's expectation. So I want to ask you, what was the expectation like? What was the reality of what you found? Were you surprised or
You shocked.
Yeah, for me, I was surprised because I felt, well, since we came in through the skilled, immigration path, so I expected that at least there will be jobs. Like when you come in, it will be difficult for you to get a job. Okay. It took me like almost 5 months or something to get a job that I'm doing, and it's just like something to really start with because we have to pay bills, and I believe that it's kind of difficult also for you to match up because you're coming from another country where things are different and all that. So you have to, like, you starting from the scratch. So anybody that thinks that, okay, you're a manager in whatever home country that you are, and you feel that you just come in and enter into the stream as a manager, no. You have to wake up from your dreams because that's gonna it's not gonna happen. You know, the system here in Canada will definitely humble you. Well, I can say in, let's say, in percentage, like maybe 2 or 3 people have that advantage that they can just flow like that. But in the real sense, in reality,
most people don't get
most people don't get what they desire. So you have to make up your mind, because sometimes it's kind of demoralizing that, wow, what am I? For example, we have a friend that he has a company in Nigeria, an IT thriving company. He came here, he started, working in Walmart, as a sales rep, so, and he has to pay the bills. You have to do something.
Yeah, but say the now story is doing well.
And now he's doing well, so you don't have to exactly.
Very important.
Exactly. So, but you don't have to be discouraged. That's what I want. I want to say that no matter the level that you are, you have to start from somewhere, because you have to learn to actually grow. You must grow in this country. So that's just mine.
And we also don't want to scare you, because I know that some people will say, no, we don't want to start from scratch. You don't always have to start from the scratch, because there's still a percentage of people that get to integrate into their profession, their stream. And Bola is one of them. So I'm going to give the floor to him to be able to tell us what his experience was with finding jobs, settling, what was the shocker, what was the challenges. Within these 3 months, tell us about your experience.
Thank you very much again. I guess when you're talking about the 1, 2, or 3% of people so I would say, fortunately and by God's grace, I am one of those. Right. So, like I said, I've only been 3 months here in Canada, but I think God has been faithful, because I am actually working at a company, a multinational actually, that is a software company in the technology space, which is where I actually play. And I would say I was one of those that is just lucky. So my experience and how I got it was, it started from back home in Nigeria, right? The landing experience for me, it's a situation of I can relate, but also can relate with other people, in the sense that there was some level of preparation from my end. So months or even years before, I didn't really have this expectation of Canada. For me, it was definitely some things will be different. There'll be constant electricity, right? You'll be able to, you probably won't get harassed as much as you do on the road with, the police and anything like that, so, and some sense of maybe stability and the rest. Of course, I had it in the back of my mind that, of course, you also have to prepare for starting again, because if you had a managerial role where you're coming from, you have to just know that the system here is different, and you have to learn the way, right? So there's a part of learning as well. And I've also experienced that, to be honest, is actually necessary, because the experience and the know-how of how we do things back at home is different here. So you do have to go through a learning path before you can then take up that position, right? So very few people come and then hit it like that. Like, even for me as an example, even though yes, I work in this organization, I'm not in that sort of managerial role like I was back at home, right? I've had to take some steps back, but there's a path to growth in the organization, right? So, and it's now for you to now chart your growth path on how quickly you want to get back to that position, and even then, and also just trying to skill up yourself and all like that. So again, I didn't have so much of a high expectation for Canada that the land is greener on the other side. It's definitely green. It's definitely
white,
but not.
White. But when you come down here, you know the difference.
Yeah,
you know?
you definitely know the difference for sure. So I won't, because I also didn't want to give myself a shocker where I feel like if I don't get to Canada, my life will not remain the same. And then when I get to Canada, it's not working out for me. I'm as frustrated as anything. So I just told myself that, see, just humble yourself. Canada might be great, and it will be great for me.
Yes,
right? But just take it as it comes, but also just try to put in the effort and pray along the way. So I'm just grateful that I've been opportunity to be in the position where I am, and I didn't have to do any job at all outside of where I have experience in. Yeah.
Yes. So he actually falls in the almost 2 to 5%
2 to 5, exactly.
the people that actually get it right from the beginning.
Yeah.
So it can happen to you. It's there was preparation, but sometimes too people prepare right from home and still don't hit it like that. There's a place for God, so please always put God in your picture when you're planning in every situation. And even if you have to start from scratch, it doesn't still mean that God is not there with you. So there's always an opportunity for you to learn. You need to also get to know the people that you're working with, and that's where we talk about integration, talking about culture and so many other things that you need here. So I want to move forward to looking at settlement. Tell us about how, I'll throw it to Samuel now. Tell us about how you were able to settle here in Canada. Did you have family? Did you have friends before you landed? How did you find accommodation? How did you find job? Let's put that in a
okay, so well, it's a continuous conversation anyway.
Right.
Now, settlement. One thing I want to say up front is that stories will always be different.
Right.
So for you, and like we've said earlier, different career paths, that affects your settlement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like he said, he's in tech space.
Yes.
I've told some people that tech is almost a universal language now.
Yes.
So if you're in tech, the chances are higher that you may occur in that 3 to 2% easily if you know what you're doing. The chances are higher. But depending on the space you find yourself, you might need to ask yourself some sincere questions. Like for me, I was for the past 6 years before we left Nigeria, I was already a freelance construction architect. So I wasn't doing the typical 8 to 5, right? So I had a working system for me. But coming here, I practiced in the construction industry. I worked as an architect. I knew architecture is universal, but there are peculiar things. Architecture is really influenced by the society, the community, and the weather. So if I come here and I'm coming to brag, say I'm an architect, one, if I even had all the papers right, I may get the job, but I might fail because the way they do the architecture is vastly different from how we do ours. So it's ideal that you understand these things about your industry and then prepare rightly. I know doctors are not having it that easy to just be assimilated. So
that's true.
Once you understand that, it helps you prepping. For me, once again, I'll go back to the God factor, because there were certain things that happened that I didn't prep for but really helped. One was the fact that, yes, I had a cousin here, but he's in a different industry. So in terms of career settlement, it wasn't exactly useful. Not because he didn't want to help, but there's always the hidden referral market, which is very strong here. So what I think really what I know helped me was that God directed us to a network of people. We found ourselves, we prayed, because for us, not just work, family, but church too was important. And God led us, we started fellowshipping in this church, and it happens to be a church pastored by a registered architect.
Wow.
So I automatically got a mentor, and he referred me to a refresher course, a refresher program here. They call it Introduction to Construction. The province pays for it. I ran a 9 weeks course, 3 weeks in class, 3 weeks in the workshop, 3 weeks on a practicum. So the job is to try to get you into your industry if you are in construction. So that gave me my second opportunity. My first opportunity happened by an old friend, a former colleague in the university, was a year behind me in school. He's been here for about 10 to 11 years, and I bumped into his wife in the mall one day, and we used to be in the same choir, myself and the wife, and the guy used to be in the fellowship, one choir guy, but he has his own business here. And one day we got talking and said, look, if you don't mind to do what I do, he's into renovations, so he gave me my first opportunity. So I was doing that till I did the refresher course, and then they retained me during my practicum, and then from my practicum I got another opportunity where I work right now as a card detailer. So I didn't mind going back, because let me not cushion it. The refresher course gave me a construction laborer job. Yes. So let me say, but you know, for me, it helped me to observe the industry without the burden of being like the architect or the project. No, I was able to see how things are done from the bottom. So when I went for an interview while I was on that job, and frankly, I'd gotten the job. It was for a development firm, but they had a stronger candidate who had Canadian experience. Wow. So, in fact, the man knew my pastor because he's a member of the board of the Institute of Architects here. So he referred to me and said, look, that because I referred to my pastor during our conversation as my mentor. So he said, your guy was good, but we had another candidate, and I'm not the only one that makes decisions. So I understand that I was fitting enough for the market, but there were some other things that, and I didn't mind, because I know in time things. So where I am right now is good, but it can get better. Exactly. So once you understand your industry, don't put yourself under too much pressure. Yes. And I must say that there's dignity of labor here. There is. You know, we go to site and some laborers will come with their jeep, and a guy is driving saloon car. You know, I'm not saying you shouldn't aspire, but I'm just saying,
there's dignity.
Yes, don't put yourself under undue stress, because if you state in your resume, I can break the mountains, I can move the sky, and they believe enough to do the job, and you get on the job, and the culture that you are not used to did not make it, they won't yell, they will fire you without a breath, and it goes to your record that you were fired. So you rather be humble and then be lifted than you pride and then be dumped.
I think that's also, sorry to cut in, I think that's also why that Canadian experience
is key.
It's always important.
Canadian experience of Canadian education.
It's very key, because for them, it's tried and trusted.
Yes.
You're coming from another place. We don't know what.
And there's a culture.
There's a culture. Exactly.
There's a culture they expect. You know, the way they do their stuff. Yeah. So I'm sure you get to that. So you don't rush. Yeah. There's time.
If you've actually watched some of my videos, I've talked about cultural integration, and you know, it's really, really important as a new immigrant. Even for those that have been here a while, you know, you still have to integrate. They talk about this Canadian experience like breaking the bank. Exactly. It's always a thing. Yeah, and what is in this experience that they're looking for, how you relate. Don't forget that Canada is a multicultural society, and you have people from diverse countries. You know, they are here. Religion, and it's just a level playing field for everybody. And you need to be able to work effectively with every one of them. So you have to integrate, and that's why that Canadian experience is important in whatever kind of job that you find yourself. You are integrating. You are trying to, you know, understand how they behave, how they talk, because it's also a thing. Sometimes you can't even understand some countries, the way they actually say some things. You have to tell them to repeat it again. You can't hear. Exactly. But you have to work with them. So these are some of the integrations that you need, and that could also, you know, take you away from getting some of the jobs that you, like Samuel rightly said, you might even be a good fit, but there are still other things. It's not only about your qualification, there are still other things.